Welcome to the network. Welcome to the Two Dads edition. Wait,
That's not it.
start again.
Two Dads, Gen X edition.
I have a question for you, James.
All right, what's your question, Dawson?
Do you have little hearts on your underwear?
No.
No. Okay. How about, do you feel like you're middle
They're
class?
little red kisses. Just kidding.
Little red kisses. They all have little symbols on them. What, like, do they actually have like little kiss me not?
What else is little
Hug
No,
about?
there's
you.
just one
Hug-
that says "kiss
hug
me,"
me.
and it's right in the center.
Right.
Just kidding. I don't.
Is that all you could afford with your budget?
Just the one pair.
The one-
I wash it every night.
So the
Yeah.
front's kind of yellowish and the back's
No,
kinda
there's a
brownish
process.
with the
You
red.
turn it around. You turn it inside out. Turn it around again. It lasts 4 days before you have to wash. You ever heard that?
Or you just shower with it on every
Yeah.
day and just soak through it. No, this is how I do my laundry
Oh.
and shower my body at
When
the
I was
same
a
time.
teenager, I was so lazy. I didn't want to do my laundry, and so if I ran out of clothes, which I had like 2-3 weeks worth of clothes,
Just last week?
I would take like my underwear and I would wash it with soap in the sink in my bathroom instead of doing a little laundry.
When you were a teenager?
When I was a teenager, because I was so lazy.
We did the same pair every day.
No, thankfully not. But then, like, I found out, like, with the t-shirt, if you spray it with Lysol front and back and hang it up, you can't tell that it was.
I used to do the starch spray
The starch spray.
to like make your
Oh.
shirts more stiff.
Oh man, teenagers are so gross.
And as a joke, we just used the whole can one time. And the whole front was so hard that you could stand the shirt up by itself.
The front was so hard.
Yeah, because they use so much starch. Shut up.
Oh my goodness. Thing is like my parents, it's not like my parents were broke. I mean, they had 10 kids, but like I was just lazy.
Well, I mean, that kind of goes into our episode today. You know, too rich to qualify, too broke to breathe.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the middle
Yeah.
class reality. You know, you kind of mentioned your parents. My mom, she struggled, you know, the whole life, but she provided very well for us, gave us what we needed. Hand-me-downs, you know, were a thing. She just refused to go on the tit of the government. You know, she's like,
Yeah.
once you go on that, it's designed to keep you poor, in my opinion.
Yeah, it really is.
You know, and rewards you for having multiple kids and staying poor kind of thing. And that's one thing that definitely needs to
Well,
change.
yeah, because there's like an all or nothing kind of mentality when it comes to that help that you're supposed to get from the government. It's not a help. It's handcuffs basically.
Yeah, and it's sad because, you know, for me, like, you know, getting divorced and starting over, and then dating, doing a whole nother relationship and going out of that and starting over. You know, I'm pushing, you know, 48, or I'm 48, pushing
you are
49.
You're not pushing 48. You are 48.
I'm like Joey. I'm in agreement with God. I'm always 30, kind of thing. But you know, it sucks because I had the investment firm. They cashed me out when they were supposed to roll it over, so I literally lost 75% of my retirement, like in a blink of an eye. The government took half of it, and then penalties and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things that's like, whoa, you guys fucked up.
Right.
Get it back. Get my money back and fix it. And they're like, nope, sorry, too bad. And so it's just like, again, starting again and then again and again. And it's just, and it's rough. And so that's one thing I really push with my kids is to start saving now in your 20s so you will actually have money. And I love the child account that Trump's doing for every kid born this year, $1,000. It's what Norway did. Like 30 years ago, and they said this is the first time everyone in that country can retire.
Well, but here's what it does, though. You know, it's supply and demand. If everybody has a lot of money, then the threshold of poor gets higher.
Oh yeah, that's kind of
It's kind of like minimum wage, right? When they, what was it in New York? They want $25, $30 minimum wage now. They were fighting for $15 minimum wage like a couple of years ago, and it's like, how many restaurants shut down and all these jobs that were entry-level jobs went away. But it's like, you can't legislate wealth. Yeah. All you're doing is you're making it harder and harder. You're compressing that middle class into a smaller threshold.
Well, and in my opinion, that's their goal is to just have rich and poor, no middle class.
Right, because the middle class is like that is where you can breathe, and then you can actually start thinking about doing something for your future. So,
Yeah.
you know, me getting out of the military, 100% disabled. I'm doing pretty well for having had a surgery on my shoulder just like a week ago. Still have like the steri strips on there.
You're doing the wrong motion.
No, that's the only motion I can do.
No, you can't go up and
No, not that one. No, I'm right-handed. No, but like, so I got out, I got 100%, which is great because it gives me like this base, right? But when I first got out, I qualified for Social Security disability, but you either get it or you don't. So as soon as thankfully I was able to draw on that when I was in school.
Yeah.
But as soon as I started working, which was right around COVID, so they extended the benefit a little bit longer. But once you start working and you start making more than like $1,000 a month or working 20 hours a month, it's gone. There's no step process where it's like, okay, then we're going to take away half. So that encourages you to do more. It's all or nothing. And so, I'm grateful to have that 100% because it gives me that foundational, income that I at least have that guaranteed as long as Congress keeps passing the budget for it. But I'm broke. I mean, when I was on Social Security disability income, I made more money effectively than I do now, even though I make more money now because the cost of living has gone up so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, I make more money, but I feel more broke.
Well, that's the squeeze of that was the last, this last year, but the 4 years before that. I mean, it went from having free money, I could pick up an extra shift to the hospital, and
Right.
that money was like just pure play money, vacation money, fix the house money. I didn't have to worry about it. And then I think within 6 months, I was having to work,
Yeah.
40 hours a week, and then starting to have to push 72 hours a week just to survive those 4 years under him. And it was just so frustrating. And it's so funny how the economy's gotten better, and I'm affording things better. And, we go to the city market and, we get our vegetables there because it's like
Bougie.
$25 for
I still
huge
go to
table.
the local grocery store for my food because that's all I can do.
Well, no,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. And that's kind of what we're talking about is the 3 segments we want to go. It's like the math of the imploding middle class, where we kind of get a little boring and just give you some numbers. We'll go through that.
Just some of the stats, yeah.
And then kind of the Gen X squeeze and the Gen Z wall, because it's like we're being squeezed and they're hitting walls
Yeah.
to the point where they can't even buy
Yeah.
homes, without parents helping them 100%,
Mm-hmm.
and then the new path going forward, how to do
Yeah,
that.
because it's not like it was with our parents.
No, I mean, there's a great clip of a gal that shows her parents' house, and it's like on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this beautiful house. I think it's probably 2,000 square foot. And she's like, both my parents were teachers.
Yeah.
And they were able to afford this house and send us all through college.
Yeah.
And it's like, couldn't do that now.
No,
like,
dude. I
holy
mean,
crap.
so my last house that I had when I was on Social Security disability and the VA disability, I had a beautiful 3-car garage, 3,000 square foot, 4-bedroom, 3.5 bath house. And I make more money now, and I'm 1,000 square feet less, 2-car garage instead, which is still nice. It's good, solid middle class. I pay $1,000 more a month for this house than I did for that one.
Well, and the things that kill people, property tax, the
Yep.
PMI, because you don't have 20% down, which, they're like push. Oh, you don't have to do that. Oh, you have a FHA loan. You only have to do 3%.
Yeah.
Well,
Then
cool.
it adds costs and stuff.
yeah. And so it's like,
Maybe we should
and
do an
insurance.
episode just on buying a house.
Well, we are. we
But-
are.
But yeah, but like the whole idea of like the middle class being kind of squeezed out, where you are is no longer where it used to be. It's getting poorer and poorer and poorer. You have 2 people that work in a factory. They are middle class.
Yeah.
Solidly middle class anymore. Where you get an attorney, or a doctor. Yeah, they make good money, $150,000, $250,000 a year. That's still middle class.
Yeah.
So you got the factory worker and the attorney, and they're both still middle class because most attorneys don't make that much money. Most attorneys are mediocre. You get the few that make 250 plus, but that's still middle class.
Yeah.
It's
Tell you a
ridiculous.
big partner, basically.
Yeah, or you work your butt off like crazy. Yeah,
Or you do money laundering for the mafia. I don't know. Anyway. And so, yeah, so like kind of the math of the imploding middle class, there's like a 30-year shift from 1990 to now. the wealth share in 1970, the middle class held like 60% of all the money in the household income.
Yeah.
Now today it's like 42%, and that's part of that squeeze of it, decreasing it. The poverty level has gone up to $42,000, which you can't live anywhere in America on $42,000. But
well, and that household income, the middle class holding 62% of the household income back in like the 70s and stuff, it was primarily a single income house.
Yeah.
Now it's dual income and it's still middle class.
Yeah.
That's
the 42% on a dual income.
On a dual income, the percentage has gone down, even though it's two incomes. It's ridiculous.
It's just frustrating, and in the 90s, the home cost roughly was 3 times your median income. Now it's almost 5 to 7.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, I had our mortgage person go, you should be spending about 75% of your income on your house. And I'm like,
what?
What are you talking about?
What?
No, that 75 is like the max you should be spending in general, and saving 25, in my opinion. But
your house payment should be
your house payment
1/4 of your income at the most.
At the most.
Because you've got car payments, credit card bills, food, utilities, all that kind of stuff. But like, oh my gosh, 75% of your income is your house payment?
No, well, no, not me. That's what they were like.
No, not you, but like that's what they were saying?
Yeah, and I'm like, no wonder people are house poor.
Does anybody underwrite a loan like that?
It's like, sadly, I think there's a lot of companies that do that crap.
We're going to have another...
If I knew them, I'd be like, avoid this one, avoid this one, avoid this one. Kind of thing. What about pensions, like the safety net that you could count on a loyalty as a company?
That's gone, man. My grandfather, on my mom's side, he worked for GE for years. Retired from GE, had a great life, lived in upstate New York, and then moved out here. Later in their retirement, my grandparents moved out here before they passed away, but they were able to survive and live off of the pension from GE.
Yeah.
Because companies gave pensions. Ford used to have a good pension. All these government jobs would have pensions. And now they've shifted over to these 401ks, because what it does is it takes the responsibility off the company to pay out those pensions, because the pension was a huge, huge financial weight on the company's profit.
Yeah.
And so by switching it over to a 401k where it privatizes it, they don't have that burden anymore, and all of a sudden their profit increases. But that means that there is no guarantee, and there is no like loyalty to a company anymore. What the average lifespan of somebody working at a company is like 3-4 years at the most.
Well, that's the funny thing with nursing is like the only way to get a raise is actually in healthcare in general is to go to somewhere else every 2 years.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, then you just get penny raises. Like I think as a respiratory therapist, I was only getting 12-cent raises, but I was above and beyond. Like one of the best employees. I could work everywhere, knew pretty much all the policies, procedures, and they're like, "Here's your 12 cents." And I'm like, "Oh, cool."
Well,
thanks.
There's even like for the railroad. I forget which railroad it is, but one of the big ones in the country. I have a couple clients that have worked for the railroad, and there's one where he's part of the old. When a Canadian railroad company bought the railroad. When the Canadian company came in, they kind of squeezed out as many people as possible and then hired new people on. And all the new hires did not get the pension that the old people did. And so the pension is a lot less. The benefits are a lot less. They may make the same amount hourly, but the benefits are so much worse that one of my clients was like, I hate my job. I can't stand this. It's causing all this stress, but I don't want to quit, because if I quit, I lose all these benefits because it's grandfathered. Yeah. He's one of the last ones.
Yeah, we had a guy at research that still was on an 8-hour workday.
Mm-hmm.
And so after 8 hours, he got overtime no matter what.
Yeah.
and they're required 12-hour shifts. So it's like, too
4
bad.
hours of overtime every time.
They tried to get him to fucking quit.
Yep.
For years.
Yep.
And he was still getting his pension. And one of my good friends, Bill, like he was one of the last few old guys part of the pension, and he had almost 3.5 years of just like PTO and sick leave. So they made him take it for 3 years. Like, so he was gone for 3 years, and he just went to another hospital and worked. So he's getting double pay. And when that ran out, he came back to work at the hospital. And I was like, "Hey, how'd your vacation?" He goes, "I just worked another thing." And what's crazy about that is he ended up saving almost $1 million by doing that to add to his retirement.
Smart.
Because he's like, all right, screw you guys. I'll just go work somewhere else and you'll pay me out my thing. Because the hospital's like, we're not doing that anymore. And where I work, they just joined another company, and it's almost the exact same thing. They're cashing out everyone's sick time, their sick leave, all
Yeah.
the stuff they built up, and when they cash it out, you don't get all of it. They only give you like 60%, which is bullshit kind of thing. And it's just kind of frustrating because their logic is, well, this is short-term disability, so we only pay 60% anyway, but it would have gone longer.
Right. Well,
Kinda
and
thing.
I had this happen in the military. Two things that happened in the military. One of them was my first ex-stepmother-in-law. She who shall not be named.
My
None of them was-
first-
yeah, I know, right? 'Cause I was
first
divorced
ex-
twice.
My
I have to
first
distinguish,
of
right?
the-
And it's ex-stepmother-in-law. So there was one time she put out a Facebook post where like she thought it was bad that military gets retirement after 20 years and they should have to wait until they're 65 before they get any of their benefit. And, and started spouting all this not real stuff. Because the way that the military retirement is, if you go 20 years, you get 50% of your base pay.
Yeah.
Well, the income of the retirement is base pay plus BAH, basic allowance for housing, plus BAS, basic allowance for sustenance, which is like food, and then once a year you get a $300 for uniforms, which might cover your boots, and then a pair of pants and the top, kind of thing, maybe a hat too. But she was saying that, they get 100% of their pay, all this other stuff. And so I responded to her post and I said, well, let me clarify a couple things first. Here's the Army regulation that you can look up. And it's 50% of your base pay only. Most people retire out of the military at an E6 or an E7, which is this much money. So half of that is this. And it was like $20,000 a year.
Yeah.
But then from 18 to 38, if you go 38 to 65 and you calculate that money all the way to 65 when you can retire, it's like $750,000. It's like, so $750,000. You don't think somebody who deployed multiple times, got shot at, got injured, possibly divorced, all this other stuff, that they don't deserve $25,000 a year for 20 years of sacrifice for you to be able to do what you want to do?
Yeah.
And then the other thing that happened, which of course, bullshit, but the other thing that happened was when I was getting out, so I'd gotten my ETS date, my date of leaving the military, which is like February 4th. But I didn't know that until like 2 months ahead of time. So when I finally found out, I was like, oh, cool. All right, let me look up. All the regulation says because I would save up my leave time so that you could carry over 60 days into the next calendar year, but you could accrue up to 90.
Oh yeah. So you're like, I'm out.
Well, and so what I was going to do is I was going to use up that
Yeah.
I had like 75 days or something like that at that point. I was going to use them. And then they gave you an extra like 15 days to find a house plus an extra 10 days for this. So it was like 105 days where I'd still get paid. I'd still get the BAH, BAS, all that kind of stuff. Still get active duty medical benefits, all that. And I was like, great. Here's when I'm going to get out of the military. So I brought that up to the office at the base where they do all that. And they say, oh, no, you're getting out on the 14th. It's like, but I get all these benefits. And they said, no, this is a hard date. I said, is there any way I didn't find this out until like,
Yeah.
a month and a half before. And I was like, is there any way I can do something here? I said, if you get your commander's approval, they'll extend it. And so I filled out all the paperwork, did it all myself, went to our battery commander. The battery commander was like, why should I approve this and send it up to brigade? I said, because what had happened was the email that said my ETS date went to my platoon sergeant. They never let me know. They had it for like 2 months.
Yeah.
So I didn't have the opportunity to do all that. And so I finally was like, because I'm not the one that fucked up. I'm not the one that did this. I'm not the one that caused this. Why should I be punished because somebody else didn't do their job in notifying me of something? And she's like, that's a good point. She signed off on it, sent it up to the brigade, and it sat on the command sergeant major's desk. I can't remember his name. I'd totally blast it right now, but I can't remember his name. He wouldn't even bring it to the brigade commander because he was the one who had to approve it. He was the final approval. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, all right, Command Sergeant Major, your job is to take care of soldiers. And you're screwing my family and I over. And finally, it was like 2 weeks before that February 14th, like end of January. And I'm like, fuck. And so I redid my paperwork and I cashed out my leave time, but I lost out on like 50 days worth of benefits.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of how corporations are now too. I mean,
Oh, and the leave time? They only pay out your base pay. They don't include BAH or BAS. So it's like I lost $8,000 of benefit because somebody just didn't want to do anything about it.
Well, and that's what's frustrating about the pensions and
Jerk.
stuff, because like the anxiety, like there's some companies that, they do the whole, we'll match your 401k.
Right.
But
Unless you leave.
Yeah, unless you leave within the first 10 years. And there's
Yeah.
a lot of people, that they don't tell them that. And I know not whoever, I know who bought us out, but I don't want to say. We joined, theirs is like 15 years.
Yeah.
Well, the average person that stays at that corporation is like 5.
Yep.
And so you're really not getting any of that money, because as soon as you leave, your retirement is cut in half, kind of crap. So when we compare Gen X and Gen Z, we're getting squeezed. It's getting harder and harder just to save up for retirement for us.
Yeah.
In my opinion, especially when you're struggling paycheck to paycheck.
By the way, if you're struggling too and you've been screwed over, follow, like, and subscribe. Join us as we talk about the things that have screwed up our lives.
if you like lube.
Yeah. No, they don't use lube. That's the problem. They wrap it in concertina wire and throw sandpaper in there just to add a little bit of pleasure to it, and then rail you. Yep. Anyway, sorry.
So anyway, if you've bent over and taken it hard, no. So we got the Gen X squeeze leading into the Gen Z wall.
Yeah.
1 in 5 Gen Xers are financially supported by their parents or have been bailed out by their parents because of divorce, starting over, the divorce racket. It so blows my mind because, like, in Kansas, you can go to the courthouse, pay $40 and do it all yourself.
Yeah.
You don't even need a freaking lawyer, and then you just get a mediator. And so it's like, if you have kids, you just have to agree to a visitation plan. Why pay? I mean, I think we paid like $30,000 combined.
Oh, dude, that's nothing.
Well, yeah, yours is horrible.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's kids, kids college. That's down payment on a house. I mean, it's sad. And
when I think about that, one, I'm very grateful that my parents were able to help me out, because, like, in my first divorce, I didn't expect it to go the way that it went. I mean, it took a year and a half. I think all in all, including going back to court the second time when my first wife wanted to change visitation. To change visitation was $25,000 in a year.
Yeah.
To change visitation, right?
Yeah.
But total, it was $125,000 roughly that my parents helped me with. They took out of their retirement. A lot of, I don't know how much of my family knows this, but, like, they took out of their retirement to pay for that. When I sold my last house, the bigger 3,000 square foot house, there was enough equity that I was able to pay them back. So I paid them back. But they still took out of their retirement to do that because I needed that for my kids. I needed to protect my kids because the chaos of that divorce was so high. But it's like, why? Why does it take so much? And I'm grateful that my parents were able to help me. But it shouldn't have taken that. And now with my kids too, I've been able to help my kids here and there too. But, that's one thing that happens a lot, is that we are being helped by our parents, and then we are helping our kids too. And so not only do we have this burden of, like, we're middle class and we're barely making it, but our kids are struggling to even make it. And so we're helping them as well, as much as we can. It sucks.
Yeah, it really is hard. I mean, I have a friend he lived with his parents till he was 40.
Yeah, I have a cousin like that.
And really the only reason he moved out was because he wanted to get laid without his parents knowing. And the sad thing is
it took that long.
It was one of those things where, like, he got convenient. It's like, he moved in. The kids had 2 rooms, but when he was looking for places to stay, he goes, I can't afford a $3,000 apartment a month, because he was pushing, I think, 50 at the time. And he finally got the nerve to ask for a raise. Oh, we got up to $60,000. Ooh.
He couldn't afford to live on $60,000.
Well, I technically could, living with his parents, but so when he finally moved out, it's like he got kind of a crappy apartment, got a 1-bedroom because his daughter got old enough that he didn't have to have 2, 3 bedrooms.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just seeing that is kind of that whole trend. And I didn't have the luxury of moving out, going back to my parents to get back on my feet. I had to start all over, buying all new furniture for my kids, creating an environment that competed with the $1 million environment,
Yep.
kind of thing. And yeah, that huge disparity. And at first the kids didn't want to come. It's like, oh, why do we have to do this? And it was so demoralizing and so hard as a parent and as dad. And I made promises like, okay, once you have your own rooms, you'll never share again. I'll make that promise to you.
Yeah.
And I kept that promise, until Kira went to college. Now I'm like, okay, cool. You don't need a room now because you're an adult,
Right.
kind of thing.
Right.
But they do know if something happened to their mom that I would still find a way to provide and help them. And it's hard to see. I think that's why I push so hard for them to like, hey, you got a job, invest $100 a paycheck, open a Robinhood account, just start putting it in a Roth, just start saving now. So when you're 50, you can retire and enjoy life.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
do things.
the compounding interest calculators that you can find online, if you put $1,000 into an account, $100 a month off your paycheck, $50 a month off your paycheck every month for 10 years, and then just let it sit.
Yeah.
And then
look at it.
Let it calculate up to 65. You'll be a multimillionaire.
And I wish I could find the bank that I did that as a kid in Utah, because I had like $1,000 in that bank account when I was like probably up to 7 or 8 years old.
Yeah.
And then I have no idea. I know it's just by a mall.
Yeah.
I wish I could find that bank account.
You know what happens? If there's no activity in the account after so much time, they're allowed to keep the money. They just close the account. They say, oh, it's been abandoned. Yeah. No, but I mean, that's one of the things that, I tried to kind of prepare my kids for, because I struggled, I still struggle, but like, I didn't want them to have these unrealistic expectations about life. And so I told them, I was like, you get a benefit because I'm 100% disabled through the VA for school. They get a stipends every month while they're in school full time. Up until, I think it doesn't continue until once they hit like 30 or something. If they haven't used it, it's gone, something like that.
Yeah.
But so some of my kids have used it. But other than that, you got to figure out school. I might be able to help, but it depends on where I am financially. You got to figure it out if you want to go to school. And my kids have done that.
Yeah.
My youngest right now, she's a sophomore, and she has figured it out. She's been able to do it, and she's got some savings too, which she, because she's working as well. But it's like they're not sucking off the teat.
Well, and it's frustrating because they've made colleges so expensive. In my opinion, if you're getting money from the government, then that tuition should be fucking free.
Yeah.
Because in other words, there's no reason for you to get money from the government to help kids go to college. Right. Well, that should be available for everyone, not just a certain class or a certain race. That should be for everyone, because I was poor and I had nothing that was given to me. I had to earn everything. Even when I applied for grants, I only got $1,000.
Yep.
And it was kind of funny because my loan officer goes, well, it's because you're a white male. That's why you only get $1,000. And I was like, well, it's fucked up. He goes, yeah, I know. Yeah. That's how it is nowadays.
Yeah. Back when I was a teenager, there was a website where it was like 800,000 different scholarship opportunities. And I put in my data and there was like 100 for me. And then I changed just the race, and it was like 40,000, same exact data except for that, and there's like 40,000 scholarships available.
Well, we did that in school. It was funny because we did Black, Jewish, lesbian, mother of two, poverty. I think like
you could have gotten $1 million a year.
No, it was $64 million in scholarship options. I was like, what?
Well, and
so then we just started taking away little bits to see. Like, we're literally like, okay, what if I just put in this and this? And of course, it won't let you. It wants you to do the combination of stuff. But it just blew my mind. I was like, and that was back in 95.
Yeah, right?
I was like, holy crap. Who knows how it is now? But I have friends that they worked the system and they were able to pay for their college. When I paid for my respiratory and even JUCO, junior college, I paid for it all myself because it was literally, I could, I think 12 hours was about $1,200,
mm-hmm.
And it was easy to do. I could.
Yeah. Back in the day, it was like $90 a semester hour.
Books were
a credit hour,
$25. Now textbooks are $600-$700.
I had a semester in my master's program. I paid like $450 for books for 2 classes.
Yeah. Our nursing, it was like $1,000 a semester for books.
Ridiculous.
And we're like,
that's the business we need to go into. We need to write textbooks.
Well, and it's like, and you're not even getting books anymore. You're getting fucking downloads. I'm like, why am I paying $1,000 for a digital download? Just dang.
No, but like one of the things that I had this experience with my middle daughter when she moved out, and she moved out to Utah, and she called me up one time, and I we talked about earlier. I've helped them as I can here and there, and there was one time she was just, it was like a week away from getting her paycheck, and she was a couple $100 short on her rent, and I was like, all right, here you go. I was able to help her out, and she paid me back, but she's like, I'm struggling. It's like I barely have enough, and it's always, playing catch up and this and that. And I said on the phone, I was like, welcome to being an adult.
Yeah, welcome to being an adult.
I said, this is what it's supposed to be, because you learn through the struggle. And that's one of I think the things that our generation got, that we got that example. We got to see that a lot because we struggled before, just growing up. We didn't have everything handed to us. We didn't have, $700,000 phones that, all the internet is available. We had to figure things out. And so with that struggle, I wanted
decimal system.
Yeah, if you wanted to find a book in the library, you had to go to this big old long drawer and find a card, write down the number, and then find it somewhere in the building.
It would take you an hour to find the book, and then you go to the one fucking shelf, and it wouldn't be there. You're like,
yeah,
son of a fucking god, God fucking damn it.
Yep.
Oh,
Or somebody put it back on the wrong shelf and you had no idea. Yeah.
And the librarian would be like, well, just check the whole shelf. Sometimes people are stupid and can't do alphabetization.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Like,
but yeah, so it's like, she was struggling, and I said, this is the great part of this, is that you're now learning what it's like. This is the motivation to do better. And so she, at that point, soon after that, she got a second job. She's like, yeah, I've got more money, but I don't have as much time. And I was like,
there you go.
Welcome to life. That's, you don't get to just do whatever. The Instagram people and the TikTok people who are like, look at how great my life is, all this. No, it's like that one guy that's like, don't come at me. That guy that's like tattoos like crazy. Have you ever seen him?
No.
It's so ridiculous. He's like trying to be all gangster hardcore. He's a white guy. He's so funny. He was standing in front of a helicopter on a trailer that was being transported. He goes, check out my helicopter. I just bought it for $35,000, all this stuff. I'm like, that is not a $35,000 helicopter. That's a $1.5 million helicopter. Yeah. You're an idiot.
He's lying
like crazy. But it's like, he's trying to present this image like he has this life. And that's what just about all of them are.
Yeah.
And then our kids are like, oh, my life sucks because I don't have.
Well, it's sad because it makes everyone. They actually asked kids in school last year, I think it was like 5th grade, what do they want to be when they grow up in America?
Yeah.
And 80% of them said influencers. 80%.
Our
they asked that same question in Japan and China.
We are just being thrust to hell as a society.
It was doctor, engineer, lawyer. I mean, they had the normal things. It's just, we joked about that movie Idiocy, and I'm like, it was kind of funny, but now it's just scary how true it is. It's like, oh my God, there's so many dumb people.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Well, what about the rental trap? Because we're starting to see a bunch of millennials that just love renting. And the beauty of renting is you don't have to pay for maintenance. You don't have to mow. You don't have to own those things.
Yeah, but the frustration with renting is that you don't get to choose the quality. You have to wait for a maintenance guy. I mean, my son, his window in the wintertime was leaking. It was like freezing up. Their electric bill went up, and it took a month and a half for them to fix the window.
But see, I'm a bad renter. Actually, I'm a really good renter.
Yeah, because you painted and did all that stuff.
My apartment, right after my divorce, I was like trying to make it, very similar.
Yeah.
So I painted. I ripped the mantle off, bought a nicer mantle, and mounted the mantle.
I can't believe you did that as a renter.
Hung different lights, all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember when the maintenance guy came in, he goes, "Did you get the model?" And it was the only, and I'll tell you, I was so surprised. I got my deposit back, and they actually gave me an extra, I think it was $1,200 because they're like, because I was going to take all my fixtures with me. I was going to take the mantle with me.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, we'll give you $1,200 if you just leave it all. And then it turned out the office manager moved into it.
Oh, wow. That's hilarious.
Because it was so not, because I made it nice.
No, but that's part of the trap, though, is that one, here's one of the things that happened in with COVID and where housing prices just shot up through the roof, all that kind of stuff. BlackRock, Vanguard, all these investment companies, they got 0 interest loans from the government to buy investment real estate, but they were buying single family homes There's some neighborhoods in this country where the whole neighborhood is rentals because they're owned by one of these big companies. And so what happened is, you'd have these corporations bidding against other buyers on these houses, driving the prices up. And then you had companies that would come in and they would buy them at their low, flip them, sell them high, again, driving up the prices further. And so people can't afford to buy houses anymore. The average price of a house now is what, $400,000, $425,000, something like that.
Entry level,
entry level.
When I
that's
average.
But like,
God, it was like,
and so what did all the landlords do with their rentals? Well, a mortgage is $3,000, and so I can rent this house or this apartment for $2,000, and people are going to pay it because they can't afford to buy the house.
Yeah,
and so rent jumped up too. My first apartment, it was a 1-bedroom apartment. It wasn't anything special. It was like $400 a month. Now a 1-bedroom apartment is $1,300 in Kansas City.
Yeah,
is $1,300 a month,
and that's not even for a nice one.
That's basic level, like decent, but not impressive.
I went to go look at a duplex in South Overland Park, which is like a higher rich area, in Kansas City.
Yeah.
And it still had tile countertops that were lime, had shag carpet. I think the appliances were from like 1910 because it still had like the actual wood burning stove in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you want $2,800 for this fucking piece of shit? And she's like, yeah, why?
Yeah.
It's like, people will pay it.
Yeah.
So that's why we can do it. I'm like, that's insane.
That's the insanity. They're not even nice. I mean, it used to be that you'd get like granite counters and, hardwood floors, that kind of stuff. Now it's like the wood look vinyl, kind of like I have in here
in the studio.
But like the wood look vinyl, just vinyl floors, basic carpet, they might have a nice countertop, but then everything else is basic stuff.
Well, and now
they're charging premiums.
Now you're having counties that have like a square footage requirement to build on their land. And so it's forcing, you can't do, like, they're trying to get rid of tiny homes because they don't want people to have tiny homes. Because, you get to the point as an elderly, you don't need a huge 2-story, all this stuff. A lot of people just want a nice living room, nice kitchen, and then a bedroom and a bathroom, and then storage kind of thing. We joke about having that communion area where you have like the main, like the dining room and entertainment would be one little house that everybody could go into and cook, and then you'd have tiny homes leading in a circle around it.
Our commune.
A little commune with a farm and all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of Gen Zers are doing now. They're actually getting together and buying 30, 40 acres with friends, and they're starting to make
communes
and farming and
like
getting away from the government.
The daughter that's out in Utah, so one of the ways that I've helped some of my kids is I've co-signed on apartments for them. And so with her apartment, she and her boyfriend or he moved out there, but because his income that he had was not in Utah, they didn't count it. And so she asked me to co-sign, which I did, but they wanted, like, you had to make 5 times the rent to qualify.
Oh.
It's a rental. It's an apartment.
Yeah.
But then they wanted certain documentation because I'm self-employed. They wanted a W-2. And I said, well, I'm self-employed, so I don't get a W-2. I get a 1099. I said, oh, well, then we can take, this. And so I provided them because they wanted like the last 3 months pay stubs.
Yeah.
And I said, well, my pay stubs they don't show a lot of information like a typical W-2 pay stub. And so I gave them that, plus I gave them the deposit history on my bank account to show that the pay stub matched up with the deposits. And they said, well, we need to get your last couple of years of tax info. And I was like, I'm 1099. My tax income, the income that I show because of the things I can write off as a LLC, my taxable income does not match my actual income because like that 100% disability income from the VA is non-taxable.
Yeah.
So it's not on my taxes. And so I told them that and they're like, well, I don't know what you want us to do. And I was like, I've provided you. And they said, this is what they said. They said, we have to know that you can afford to pay the rent. And I said, that is not what your paperwork says. Your paperwork says I have to have enough income.
Yeah.
That's all it says. Because they asked for my bank statements showing all my purchases so they could see, I'm like, fuck
no,
you.
You're not getting that. Yeah.
That's invasive.
Yeah.
And so I told them that I said, look, I'm not going to give you any more than the information that you need. All you have to do is verify income. That's what your paperwork says. So I've provided you that. Is there a problem? And they said, well, we'll have to talk to our manager. And then I got an email the next day. Approved.
Well, and that's what's crazy on the flip side of that. Like after Amanda and I separated, I was paying $6,000 for an Airbnb in Kansas City because I could not find anywhere that would allow me to have my dog. And it was the worst freaking time to buy a house because everything, like I said, I was competing with BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, all those, because all those small little companies in Kansas City, we buy houses, they all fucking work for them.
Yeah, they're just smaller companies owned by bigger companies, owned by larger companies, owned by,
And they were going in, outbidding me by $100,000 on these houses that weren't worth that, And then, of course, the appraiser was a worthless piece of shit.
Dude, your appraiser
didn't do his job.
I still think you should sue the appraisal company not the appraisal company, the inspection company that inspected
I
your
drove
house.
up and drove off. And I'm like, dude, you didn't even look at it to go, oh, this is bad, this is bad. It just frustrates me. And and we're going to talk about that buying a house, the things to look for. We're going to have a special guest.
Man, we got some things to
definitely
avoid
tune
from
in.
our experiences.
And it was just frustrating. So when I'm looking at an apartment, I had no debt because I paid all my debt off from COVID. I worked so much that I literally got out completely. So I had
but that's a bad thing.
And I had
debt free is a bad thing.
I had no credit cards.
That's even worse.
I
How
got rid
dare
of all
you?
those. And I'm just like, so I'm like, hey, I got all this disposable income, and I got declined. And I'm like, what the hell? I still had good credit. I'm like, okay. Went to another apartment, same thing, got declined. Well, then I found out they use the same company. So I called the company. I go, hey, man, I've been declined twice, and I don't understand why. I have good credit, make 10 times more than rent.
Yeah.
So I don't understand why I'm being declined. They're like, you make too much money. You're higher risk of flight. And I go, wait, what?
Yeah.
I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, well, you can get up and you don't care if we punish you by making you pay 3 months rent. And I'm like, yeah, I would. And two, no. They're like, but if you want to pay the whole year in advance, we'll let you. I go, well, what happens in a year? And I've paid the whole year in advance because technically I've paid on time for the whole year.
Yep.
They're like, well, we would have to reevaluate. I go, fuck you. So then I was literally forced to buy a house because I'm not going to spend $6,000 a month on an Airbnb for the rest of my life, obviously. Right. And it sucked. I think we looked at like 62 houses and I just kept getting outbid. And I finally had to, because of COVID, no inspection, we won't change anything. We won't make you do this. It was so.
That's part of the stupidity of the middle class, where it's like, you can't get credit unless you have credit, but you can't have credit unless you get credit. And if you don't have enough credit, then you don't get more credit. But if you have too much credit, you can't get any more credit. Yeah. And if you don't have a long enough credit history, it's a negative. But if you have too much credit for too long, it's negative as well. And it's like, what?
Can you say that again super fast?
No, but I found out, like, I was like 32, 33 years old and got denied for something. And I'm like, why? And it's not a long enough credit history. Yeah. I'm like, I've had credit for like 15 years. What's going on? They said, oh no, 20 years or more is considered adequate.
You're just like, I've only been alive for 28.
Right. But it's stuff like that where it's like, it keeps people trapped. Yeah.
So how do you go forward, the new path forward for us? And, let's go with like the therapeutic part.
So I think from a therapy perspective, this is what I think of therapeutically is you can't fight the system. You can try to fight the system and it's going to kick you every single time because it's too big and you're way too small. So learn the system, find out what is needed and adjust accordingly so that you can actually work within the system. And it just kind of like it is what it is, accept it, embrace the suck. If that's what it takes, that's what you do. Right. But what are you actually doing to try and get ahead? If your expectations are to have what your parents have, you're always going to get disappointed because that's not the world we live in anymore.
Well, unless you're getting it handed to you.
And that's the thing. There are some people that do that, but like the majority of us, it doesn't get handed to us. We have to figure it out. And when like my parents, they had some nice homes. They were able to take us on some vacations here and there, that kind of stuff. Where if I expect to be able to do that kind of lifestyle without having the education of a law degree, or the career as an attorney, if my expectation is to do what they did, but I haven't done what my dad did, nope, not going to happen. But I'll always be disappointed if I'm comparing myself to what somebody else has.
Yeah.
And that's one of the downsides to the social media, these influencers out there too, is when we compare ourselves, comparison is the thief of joy. Instead of looking at what we can't have or what we don't have, what do we have and what are we capable of? And then what does it take if we want more?
Yeah.
Everything is possible. Just about. I'm not going to be an astronaut. But
Well,
everything
yeah.
is
Yeah.
possible. How much time does it take? How much effort does it take? How much sacrifice does it take? And if I'm willing to put those things into place, then at some point, if my expectation is next year, probably not. But 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, I might be able to achieve maybe not the whole thing, but part of it, right?
Yeah. And I think for me, it's the one lesson I try to tell my kids, and I know they got the trickle down probably going on, and I think I try to tell, the whole point of creating generational wealth, do a trust, pass it down, borrow from your trust so you're paying yourself back. I think that's one of the best nice things they did with 401ks is a life event happens, you can borrow from your 401k and you pay yourself back the interest. So you're not actually ever losing your own money, which is nice.
Right.
And they started allowing people to buy houses that way. But the other trap people fall in, they borrow too much and they can't ever pay it back. And
or they borrow for stupid stuff, like kids that get student loans and they take vacations with it.
Yeah, I've seen that.
It's like
Yeah.
those are great options to be able to borrow against a 401k, to do that kind of thing, to set up a trust, those. But if you're not doing it the way that it's intended, you're just going to screw yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's kind of like the thing is like, so I tell my kids, invest early, invest early, invest early, start small, build big. Even I'm throwing $50 in, the stocks, Roths, stuff like that every check, no matter what, kind of thing, just on the side, and I'm getting destroyed by it, but
Right.
And the other thing I tell them is you can't take your junk with you. You can't
Yeah.
take stuff. Don't buy stupid shit. If it's creating an experience for you. So I joke like get the Legos for the show and stuff, but those are like dates. Like we build them together. We spend
Yeah.
time together. So
Yeah.
it's like an experience with Sid, and and I love the fact that you say, you can spend 75% of your money, but 25 needs to go to savings, and then if you really bring down the
Yeah.
other stuff where you only spend 50 on crap and 25 for experiences and 25 for saying, those people are happy.
Yeah.
And I love how you said, it's like the comparison sucks out happiness. I forgot.
Yeah,
how you
comparison
said
is the thief of joy. When
Yeah,
you're comparing your
comparison
life to
thieves of
somebody
joy.
else, you're always going to find reasons why your life sucks.
And that's great. I mean, you see that all the time with people, like even with people that compare other couples to their own relationships, and you're chasing that dream of someone else's life. I mean, there's a reason it's one of the 10 commandments is thou shalt not covet.
Yeah. Well, it's like,
Because it ruins you.
well, and then when you go buy stuff, you don't have to buy the latest and greatest. So, as you know, I have a BMW.
I know.
I have a BMW. I like my BMW, but it's a 2014 BMW. It's not an M series. It doesn't have the V8. It's the inline six, which is a great engine, but I like the way the BMW drives, which is why I have it. It's comfortable, but I didn't spend $60,000-$70,000 on a car that I can't afford. I spent $13,500
Yeah.
on a BMW. Now the rest of the cost comes in maintenance.
Yeah.
But most of that I can do myself anyway, But it's like, why in the world should I go and buy a $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 car and have $1,000, $1,200 payment? My BMW payment is less than $300.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other trap for poor people is
Yep.
they can't afford new cars, and car loans are harder to get than any other loan nowadays. And the average percentage is like 10 to 15%.
Depends on what you're buying. Like my office furniture in my therapy office. I got my couch off of Facebook Marketplace.
Rent a center.
Nope. No, that's a trap. Holy cow. Yeah, pay triple for something. No, but like I bought the couch off of Facebook Marketplace for like $275, and it was 2 years old. The lady bought a new house, and it didn't match the decor that she was going with, so she sold it. Ashley Furniture was like $1,000 couch, brand new, 2 years before. Paid $275 for it.
Yeah.
My chair, I found at one of the Habitat for Humanity restores. Paid $35 for it. Brand new. I looked it up. It's like a $1,500 chair.
Jeez.
Yeah. $35. If you're not going after the, trying to keep up with the Joneses, you can get really good stuff. It doesn't have to be brand new, and it's affordable. You can pay cash for it. Almost everything in this house, besides like a TV or the equipment here for the studio, just about everything is secondhand. Most of it I got for free because they were hand-me-downs.
Yeah. Well, and that's what's so funny about guys and girls. Like I say Gen X guys, we're okay with hand-me-downs.
Yeah.
I mean, how many of us had milk cartons as a coffee table? I'm raising my hand like I'm in a group of people, but and it's like you got this coffee table here, this couch here, and it wasn't until I got into my 30s that I started stepping up and starting making more, like getting nicer things, because I got through the 20s. Because back in the day, it used to be, if you could make it through your 20s, pay for your school, and not have any debt, you were solid.
Yeah.
You were so golden for life, because the debt part catching up. Well, I believe in the 90s, they pushed credit cards so hard that it got to the point that you can't live unless you have credit.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to get a credit card to start building your credit.
Anymore, that's almost guaranteed. That's true. At this stage in our society, that is how life is. Very, very few people can go cash only.
Well, and when you do, it's nice, because you're just like, can't afford that. Oh, well, I don't need it.
You can go cash only if you're not trying to keep up with the Joneses.
Yeah.
If you want that brand new whatever car, you can't.
But there are ways.
Unless you're a millionaire, you're not going to be able to pay cash for that car.
Like the HELOC loans on your house, when you have enough equity in there.
Yeah.
I've seen people that do great things with those.
Oh, yeah.
They go buy a car with it and they pay it back really quick, And it's like they'll have their paycheck go into their HELOC and it counts as their payment, and they can still use it. As long as your income is greater than your outcome, then you're good.
Yeah.
And I know a guy that has 65 rental homes in Leavenworth because of that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
If you're willing to spend the time, make the sacrifices, and put in the effort, then you can achieve. But so much of our society is instant, on-demand satisfaction.
Yeah.
We want to keep that dopamine hit going, and so we want the latest and greatest right now.
And the realistic
this
thing
is an iPhone 14 Plus.
Yeah. Well,
they've got the iPhone 27 now or something like that.
Well, and these kids, it's like this generation of graduations right now. They're graduating expecting to make $200,000.
Yeah.
Go, sorry, you might make 60.
Yeah.
And
then
you're
doing well if you're making 60.
Then you're going to be working your way up, and it just takes time. And if you don't work your way up and show your wealth and work hard or your worth, not your wealth, then you're never going to achieve anything. It really does take time. And I think that's one thing that's hurt me when it comes to the healthcare is I think healthcare is insanely broken. I think hospitals are corrupt as shit. I think it's all about paying CEOs and bonuses and stuff like that. And
they are for-profit organizations.
Well, and the thing is I don't think any hospital should be non-for-profit. I don't think churches should be non-for-profit. I think you're making a profit. And I had a guy that actually did the finances for a California hospital.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, "Why do you think there's always construction?" He goes,
to be spending money. They can't
it's just
have a profit.
it's a weird form of money laundering in a way that helps them do that. And it's hard to move up. And so I've never stayed at a hospital longer because I did travel nursing and all that stuff.
Right.
Because I don't believe in their mission statements. I don't believe in what their goals are. I don't believe in any of that shit. My only goal is to give the best quality health care to the patients I have.
How dare you?
I know. I know. Horrible.
How dare you? If you would just be selfish, you'd make a ton of money.
Yeah. Buy some knee pads.
No, but I mean, and I think one of the important things to remember though is that, the struggle is normal.
Yeah.
And just because we're struggling does not mean that there's anything wrong. That's normal. There's no shame in struggling. Struggling is how we get stronger. It's how we help focus and if all we do is focus on the struggle, and here's another psychology part. There's a lot of different cultures that have this idea, but I like this one. We have two wolves. We have a white wolf and a black wolf. We become the one that we feed. If we're focused on, oh, I'm struggling all the time, I'm never going to make it, I'm always broke, I'm always this, all that kind of stuff, if that's what we're doing all the time and we're only looking at the negatives in our lives, then that's all we're going to see. Just fantasizing that everything's beautiful and perfect doesn't negate the fact that there are negatives, but focusing on the negatives also doesn't negate the fact that there are positives. Yeah. But the one that we focus on is the only one that we really observe and that we see as true, because that's the only one that we're looking for. You know, if I struggle financially, I've got, gosh, almost $500,000 of debt.
Ooh, not me. Not me.
Most of it's the house, but like, I could focus on the weight of that, the burden of that, how I'm never going to get ahead, all this other stuff, or I can see it as it's a necessary struggle that I'm in right now, and I'm working towards getting out of debt, especially consumer debt, but getting out of debt and building up a retirement so that when I get to 60, 65, hopefully, and my goal is to be in a position where I can buy my time back and I can enjoy my grandkids, my kids, traveling, all that kind of stuff. But it's going to take a lot of sacrifice and a lot of effort now, because I spent the first part of my life raising my kids. Now I'm trying to build a retirement so that I can enjoy at least part of the rest of my life without having to worry so much.
Yeah, same. Yeah, and that just really goes back to kind of the whole thing. And we can actually refer back to our money anxiety episode. We can go back to, you know, the stress of, you know, negative self-talk and things like that bring us down. And even though this financial squeeze on our class and retirement can be overwhelming, and I wish, and that's one thing I tell myself when I was younger, it's like, no matter what, still invest, still put the, you know, $100 away. The same stuff I'm telling my kids now, because I've had all this stuff. I went from poor to a lot to poor, and the happiest I ever been was when I owned less stuff. When my stuff didn't own me, I was happy. I had the freedom to get up and leave. I had the freedom to go do whatever. You know, I loved just going, you know what? Fuck it. I want to go to New Orleans for the weekend. I pick up 2 extra shifts and I could do it without paying cash, without charging anything. Yeah. You know, and now I'm smart about, like, when I do want to do vacations, I tell my kids, I go, look at a year out. There's always payment plans, and you can go on a $10,000 trip for a month if you save up and plan
prepare for it. Yeah.
And you'll enjoy that trip more when you're not looking your checkbook every 10 minutes, or, you know,
or throwing it on a credit card that now you have to make a payment every month for the next 30 years for that week long, whatever. And that kind of thing.
All right, guys. Well, I know this is a great, wonderful topic. We appreciate you guys coming in. Hit that like and subscribe if you like us. If you don't like us, still hit it.
Yeah, that's right. We still like it. Yep. Follow and complain.
In the comment section. Hey guys, just let us know what you've done, what you would tell yourself, you know, back when you were 20.
Yeah. What do you wish you could go back and do differently?
It's just that I just tell myself, it's like, I mean, I wish I had Robinhood was back then.
Yeah.
Independent app where you could just invest. I would have done that. I think the biggest thing is when Bitcoin was being talked about.
Oh, I wish I'd spent just $100 on Bitcoin when it first happened.
Well, it was so funny because originally it was only like rich people knew about it.
Yeah.
You know, and by the time
I remember hearing about
middle class and poor people do it.
Virtual money. Who's going to do that?
Yeah. So long. We're like, I'm going to snap boat kind of thing.
Right on.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, guys. Stay classy, Kansas City.